Cool. So, welcome to the next session. So, the book, Signposts to a Different Path. There are many angels that walk among us and touch our lives in some way or another, and to help us move in a direction that will help and heal us. Some come as unnoticed, come and go unnoticed with quiet words of wisdom, while others arrive with a big stick when we are being stubborn or reluctant. Some have touched my life simply by their example of endurance and just being, while others have touched me from afar and we've never met. One such angel that walked among us is called Louise Hay. This lady is loved and respected the world over. She has worked with a wide range of people in helping them to overcome horrific affliction and prejudice because of health and or lifestyles. The book she wrote, called You Can Heal Your Life, has had a profound effect on me. First, it made me very angry, then just plain grumpy, then finally remorseful at my reaction to a deep truth. In her book, she identifies thoughts and beliefs of and about ourselves that help us to create the illness/dis-ease that brings us to a juncture in our universe. So when I looked up strokes, I got hit in the face with a very large, huge frying pan, cast iron pan. Louise pointed out that the strokes are about giving up, resistance, and I'd rather die than change. A rejection of life, rather to the point, eh? Myself being in denial and angry thought, no way, I want to live. Who is this woman and what would she know anyway? But as time allowed her gentle words to slowly seep deeper into the grey cell that rattled alone inside the cranial bones I call my head, I realized how true these words were and still are today. When a client comes in and asks if I can help a family member who has had a stroke, these words come back to me, and I ask the hard question of the family member who has had the stroke. When did you decide to die? And always they look at me and acknowledge the point, always. At this point, I then ask, do you still want to die, or have you changed your mind? And if they take the time sorting out the answer, I usually find that even if they say they want to live, they actually don't. And that's okay, because that is where they're at this point in their lives. And anyway, who am I to judge what is right and what is wrong for them? Have I walked where they have walked? My perspective on life has changed because someone asked me the hard question and had the love and understanding to not judge me for my thoughts, feelings, and emotions about life, and why I then found it too hard to keep on keeping on. Thankfully, while at the University of Waikato, I was introduced to a bloke prepared to ask the hard questions of me. He was a counsellor in the student health centre there on campus, and no, I can't remember his name, sorry. It's gone. And then point out that if you die, Greg, your kids won't have a dad. This pulled me up short and helped me to claim life and make changes, whatever that required. Over the next few years, many things happened, and I let go many things that I hold as important, unchangeable, and even sacred to my way of being. I remember I reread Louise Hay several times, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, many of the other inspirational books. I learned to meditate, still my mind, discovered Qigong, and so on. Through all of this, I kept learning about me, about many of the things I still held deep within that reinforced that Gregory wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy. I also learned that I had a great deal of trouble receiving from others. I was the best giver on the planet and would give until there was No more of Gregory to give. To receive even a compliment was difficult, and if someone was to give me a gift, I was always looking for the drawstring or the condition on which it was given. Unconditional love was not real in my world, even from my grandmother. Wow, what a head job, eh? Realizing that this stemmed back to childhood, I have worked on letting this go and being able to accept gifts more readily. That is not to say that it's easy, but it's a lot easier than then. Life is about constantly moving and evolving and moving. Life is dynamic and constantly trying to achieve some form of balance and equilibrium. I guess the best known depiction of this constant striving is the yin-yang logo of many Eastern martial arts scripts. Many things have happened since the time of my first stroke and completing my studies at the University of Waikato. I graduated with a Master's in Science and Technology with honours, and then completed a diploma in geography before moving to Wellington and to study massage at the New Zealand School of Massage. This was an interesting space to be in. To get to class, I would have to leave my wheelchair in the car and negotiate 3 flights of stairs. There I would stay until the end of the day and then would make my way downstairs again. Initially, this would take me around 10 minutes each way. By the time I graduated 18 months later, I could grab my bag and run up the stairs and go straight into class. I'm so grateful for the directors and the tutors of the college for their faith and trust in me, being able to study and continue on until completion of the course. This set of classes and study program allowed me to reconnect with my body, to realize that I could move forward and let go of my disability. I learned to let go of stress that would have normally left me unable to clearly communicate or function. I could sit exams and clearly and easily function eventually by the end of my diploma. It took a little while. My tutors have been very supportive and loving. One tutor was my cousin Trudy. She showed me how to move through this world in a very clear and loving manner. Even while struggling with cancer and relationship changes, she was peaceful and loving to those she taught. She is an inspiration and someone who will walk with me in the fields of my mind until we meet again in person. I often hear her laughter ringing in my ears as I struggle with something, usually something that if I was truly honest, I could have left alone and it would have sorted itself out without the fuss or the bother I created around it. Trudy was my first real introduction to the question, what else is possible? This is something I'll talk about later. Would someone please remind me? Again, I'm grateful to all the people who have aided me in my recovery by not trying to restrict me, but to encourage, support, and even push me to move outside my comfort zone. Some by their amazing examples of courage, strength, and love, and as such are shining lights in my life. Others by bringing new possibilities and ideas on how I can move and be in this world. By allowing me to be me, I thank you. What is a dream that you've given up on in life? This is a quote by Paulo Coelho, from Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist. It's what you've always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. At that point in their lives, everything is clear and everything is possible. They're not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. We often read about some guru or avatar or other enlightened traveler and think, wow, wouldn't it be awesome to be like them? What an amazing person to be like that. We often fail to realize that they often took years and years to achieve the end result that appears so miraculous to us. Paramahansa Yogananda, autobiography of a yogi, didn't just suddenly become aware. He didn't just wake up one morning and go, wow, I'm amazing. No, he had teachers. He had lessons, some of which were very humbling, others even painful. But what he did have was a dream and a knowing to which he held fast. He knew he wanted to be like the yogis he had met. He knew he had a teacher waiting to teach him, and he kept searching and striving to fulfill that dream. So here's a question for you to ponder. And no, you don't need to tell me the answer. What is the dream that you have given up? To be what you feel other people expect you to be. To put it another way, what unconsciousness are you using to invalidate you and your awareness in order to validate others, their judgments and conclusions about how you should be? Man, the first time I got asked that question, it really hit home. I thank a very dear friend for having the love to ask it of me. How many times have you put your dreams on hold or even given them up permanently in order to keep the peace? Many clients that I've asked these questions of have forgotten the dreams and aspirations of their youth. It has been so long since they allowed themselves to have a dream or desire that they cannot remember any of the old dreams, and sadly, they have forgotten how to create new dreams to move forward, to move towards. What would happen if we stopped giving ourselves up for others? What would happen if we started choosing and creating for ourselves and become the invitation for other people who actually like us? Yes, I say like us. Not like who they think we should be, to come and join us on a different journey of discovery and creation. I've forgotten how many times I have read and reread The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I find it fascinating and very educational in understanding what I see from my life and reality. In chapter 10, the king of Salem was talking to the boy about this very stuff, where the people give out their personal dream, called your personal legend in the book, because something convinces them it will be impossible, or we decide other things must be more important. We put off dreams to get married, or to please a partner, a parent, or to simply keep the peace at home. At some very deep level, they become impoverished and are functioning from a non-participatory state. And in this state, you cannot possibly achieve oneness, as you cannot dream of being whole, happy, and able-bodied. If you don't allow yourself to hold on to a dream, then you won't allow anything like a dream to come to fruition. What do you want to do when you get well? Where would you like to go when you get well? If you could change anything in your life, who would you like to be? What would it take to be truly you? Go on, live in the question, and then prepare for the phenomenal life and the changes that come from changing your mind. In this book, Spiritually Incorrect Enlightenment, 2010, on page 95, Jake McKenna says, if Curtis really wants this, it will really occur. But the kind of wonder required is the kind that starts in the mind and moves to the heart and then reaches out from the center. It takes time, and it can be as much as a pull toward one thing as a push from another. How many times do we say we desire something, but in our mind we have created reasons why we can't have it? And we isolate that desire so that we don't feed it, water it, or let it grow to fruition. We shut our heart down so we can't possibly choose or desire it, because it's not possible. In a recent class, a young lady declared she had been asking for something, but it just didn't show up. And then she asked me why it hasn't, if all we have to do is imagine it and create it and then be it. My reply was simple. She hadn't really chosen it. Yes, I have, she declared. So I asked, what was her thought immediately after her asking the universe, herself really, for the things she was asking for? She said nothing, and everyone in the room also felt it. And then she finally said, it's not possible. She was already negating the request. And so, like many others, I suggested she let go the last negative thought and only see it as already there. A short while later, she put a post on Facebook that she is on her way to live in Norway and work at her dream job, made possible because she stopped telling the universe it was not possible. Where are you creating hurdles and insurmountable obstacles to prevent you from having all you desire, like good health and wellness? What do you think would be possible if, when you truly desire something in our mind, we let go the stories about what is possible or not, and then we feel in our heart the joy of actually being and receiving the desire, to actually see it actualize and to become real in our minds, and then feel it become real with our heart, and then with every cell and molecule of our body, to the point where we radiate the energy of actually being and having what it is that we desire. How would this be for you? How can we then affect our body, our health, our way of being? It got me and my big ass out of a wheelchair. So what could you change if you really chose it? And when did you stop creating from your dreams and desires and knowing all things are possible? Would you choose now to change that and begin again? Please. Never give up. A few people I met would tell me that they thought I was amazing, being in a wheelchair, then walking, working, and doing so-called normal things and not giving up. The truth is that I gave up many times. Not in life, but sometimes I got tired and gave up on trying. I never once stopped seeing myself normal or not walking. But there were times when I felt so bone tired that it was easier to just not try anymore. And in the end, I just let go. I let go of life, of living, of everything that I perceived as important in my universe. But guess what? Yeah, you guessed it. Yes, my universe would send someone along who just knew what to say or do to inject caring back to my vocabulary, back into my being. Now, if that didn't work, I usually got a kick, my backside kick to get me moving again. Often the softest word had the greatest impact. While studying at university, somebody emailed a picture titled "Never Give Up." It shows a stork with his mouth over the head of a frog. And the frog has his arms out the sides of the bird's mouth and his hands tightly squeezing the bird's throat. This has kept me moving forward also in my life. I'll just show you the picture. Just so it's there. Sadly, it seems that our humanness leads us to the very brink of destruction before we wake up and realize where we are and to make the required changes. Then, of course, this may happen several times over several cycles as we get better, then forget the changes and slip back into habits and unconscious patterns, and then make changes again. It's not until we make these changes permanent that the most profound changes happen and true healing takes place. It's taken me a while, and I'm still working towards more of whatever it is, if that is even real anymore. I didn't get better overnight. It took lots of falls, struggles, and frustrating moments to get improvement after improvement. It was really easy to complain that things were going too slowly, but friends would then point out how far I'd come and encourage me to keep moving onward and upward. You may find it hard to identify improvements in yourself while they happen as you are with them all the time, and just don't see the subtle shifts in energy levels, abilities to focus on tasks, speech, and so many other aspects of daily life. However, friends may not see you as often as we would like. See them and can remind us of where we were and where we are now. They are one of the most valuable things you have apart from the ability to keep breathing. Yes, and wasn't it exquisite the first time you're able to feed yourself in public without embarrassing anyone? As I've made my steps towards recovery, I've also learned that the most important things in life aren't things. There are those people around me who honor me, and in so doing, allow me to honor them, and most importantly, myself. They trust me and allow me to trust and feel trusted. They recognize my vulnerability and allow me to be vulnerable. As I work through my stuff, they are an allowance of my weakness and shortfalls, and expressive gratitude for the things they see in me that I don't quite see in myself. They also allow me to express my gratitude for all that I am and can be without judgment or condition. These people have been able to show and express an intimacy and love that is deeply nurturing. And again, I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is so important to surround yourself with loving, uplifting people. And I said loving and uplifting, not sympathetic and coddling. You have to be allowed to do and be, or you will collapse under your own rubble of self-destruction. As your sense of disempowerment and dependence on those around you overwhelms you, or you could just get lazy and get everyone running around after you until they can't be bothered anymore. Then you're on your own, having to learn without help to do the things you should have been learning to do in the first place. I made lots of mistakes, had lots of falls, forgot more than I remembered, but I kept moving forward with my dream of walking normally and being normal, if there really is such a thing, or being alive. Normal, huh? Only a scientist with the arrogance of a billy goat could coin such a phrase. And while I'm being grumpy, I developed a particular dislike for the word entitled invalid or invalid. People would ask me if I had my invalid sticker or did I park in the invalid park, and tell me what is the difference between an invalid person and an invalid license. The spelling is the same. We just pronounce it differently. Does that mean while I was disabled, I was also invalid? But I digress, and ranting isn't pretty. Words and how we use them, and how they can be misapplied. Interesting. Glass half full, glass half empty. Boho. Have you ever noticed how some people, no matter how much they have in the glass, it is always empty? And yet to others, the glass has enough for now. Some are always looking to get more from everyone as they function from the space of lack and the world owes me. And others are content knowing more is possible should they choose it. That doesn't mean they won't say yes to more, but there is enough for now in their glass. Where's yours? Are you a taker or a receiver? What do I mean by that? Just that. Do you take everything from anyone because it's offered and because you have the right to do so? Or do you receive from people because, again, it is offered and you are grateful for the offering and the gifting? You know that even people who are paid to do the job of caring for you are gifting to you their energy, their love, and their time. They don't have to. And if you're ungrateful and don't acknowledge that this is true, then what tends to happen is that you go through a lot of home help, a lot of caregivers, and a lot of friends. When you receive and acknowledge the gifting with gratitude, thankfulness, and joy, people tend to go the extra mile for you. They are there for you in so many ways, and so many more ways than you could possibly imagine. I love how Wayne Dyer puts it in his talk, Wishes Fulfilled, which you can view on youtube.com, by the way. He says we can wake up in the morning and go, good God, morning. Or we can say, good morning, God. How we live life is a choice. Abraham S. Hicks puts it this way. Life, how you view it and live it, it is optional. It's totally up to you. Gratitude. On one of those many occasions, I ended up in the Waikato Hospital in Hamilton, and it was under close observation, those 2-hourly blood pressure checks, is he breathing, responsive type schedules. And it was at 2 a.m. in the morning, and the nurse came in to check me. Her first word to me were, "How do you do that, Greg?" As I couldn't speak, I wrote, "What?" She replied that as she came in, and before my eyes had opened, my mouth was already smiling. My reply was simple. I woke up. At that time, each time I went to sleep, I was never sure that I would wake up in the morning. This is something we take for granted and accept as always going to happen. And so have no gratitude for it when it happens. I'm grateful for all of that I have, for the well-being that I enjoy, for the chance to make changes in my life, for to further improve how I am and even who I am. To be able to watch others make simple changes and witness the improvements to their health and well-being is phenomenal, to say the least. It feeds my being and fills my body with joy. This was something I read and had read to me by a teacher when I was 14 years old. It rang in my universe like a gong and a call to strive for more. I decided that I would like to feel I have accomplished and succeeded at before I'm walking among the stars again. It is a quote used by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and the words put it really well. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn their appreciation of honest critics, and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Ralph Waldo Emerson, 1803 to 1882. So again, I will ask you some more questions. Are you living your bliss? Are you being you? Are you living your dream? So what would it take for everything to fall into place and for you to start living? How would that feel? What was a dream you have denied yourself in order to fit into society, your social group, your rugby club, your church circles? While I was studying at university, I presented a paper in geography on social pressures put on by peer groups and family, education and people. This paper had a particular orientation to Maori people because that is who I truly identified with, my people. I'm also Irish, but this is where I stand on the whenua, the land. In the paper, I was able to identify a key issue with Maori moving forward in the world. The parents have to stop crushing the dreams of their children. I use the example of Dr. Paiwai. This man was originally from Dannevirke and grew up working with the family, sharing and working on the farms, but wanted to be a medical doctor. The story goes that he was told and reminded that he was getting above himself, not by the European segment of the community, but by his own family. His mother failed to support him, and so sadly he took himself away from them to follow his dream. Long story short, cut short, he became one of the Northland, which is the top of the North Island, Northland's most known and respected. The people of the far north cherish him as a taonga, a gift, that he is to the land and to its people. He never gave up on his dream. So what dream have you given up on? I'm still asking this one of me too, by the way. What stupidity am I using to invalidate my reality in order to validate other people's realities? What is it I've given up so that others feel comfortable around me? so that others will feel important and even loved. We are taught to love others before ourselves, or we are being selfish. If we're running around for others to the detriment of self, to the point of collapse, are we honoring them? Are we really? Now they have to choose whether they will stick with a cripple, become a martyr, or move on and become a failure and someone who walked out when the other needed them most. What a head job, eh? In a discussion on the subject, I told my wife back then, a long time ago, if I was too hard, then I'll find a flat. And her reply was actually quite saddening to me. I'm in this for the long haul. Wow. I was just a burden to be carried. Not likely. Needless to say, I got a flat. Then actually left town and moved to another city. I let go of all those things that had been important to me. I started to look at what was real and true for me and discovered that there wasn't as much as I had previously decided was actually true and real. It had been decided that because I was, in the words of my children's mum, a big man, that I could hurt my children, that I could only visit my children under supervision. This happened only once. A cousin of mine was asked to be the chaperone, so to speak, and she agreed. It was uncomfortable, and I really felt ashamed that anyone would give me a label of such that I needed supervision with my own children, while still allowing my abusive father open visiting privileges to them. This, I realized, still sticks me, as the children's mother knew his history with me and my sisters. At the end of the very strained visit, I wrote to the courts and told them that I would not be put in such a position again, that it was unkind to myself and to my children. And so my children were welcome to come visit whenever they chose, and I would await their request. It took 5 years, 5 very long years. And then my youngest daughter, much to her siblings' horror, requested to come and visit. I still celebrate her courage and her determination, and I'm deeply grateful for her love. To cut a long and boring story short, we, my 4 children and 7 grandchildren, even have a kind and fun rapport. I spoke of things that I let go of. One of these things was any significance I have around my children. I would no longer be held captive nor controlled because of my desire to see or be with my children. This was not easy, and I went through a long grieving process around this. I also let go of any significance I had with what I thought a family meant: siblings, aunties, uncles, parents. The hardest was the connection with my mum. Little boys always want their mums, and I was no exception, even at nearly 60. I used to endure a lot of pain due to being caught with letters I had written to my mum. They didn't get posted, as I was too young to know how, or have the money for the stamps. As an adult, I got to reconnect with Mum, but it seemed that there was always conditions, and finally, I also realized how much pain it caused her when we got together. And so I've even let that go now. The last time I was in my mum's prison, all I wanted to do was be touched and held by her, but that wasn't going to happen. Sadly, the pain I felt was from her was just that. And then I realized that I was the cause of the pain and discomfort. I simply let go, and in my mind promised her I would not willingly be the cause of more for her. I cannot and will not judge her for her choices, as I have not walked in her shoes. I can choose to honor her for the courage and strength it took to walk away, so that her father didn't kill her like he promised. I also let go of other things I had always seen as good, bad, and or ugly, blah, blah, blah. I became indifferent to in many ways. They became just things. As I became more, as I became more an allowance and less judgmental of them. That doesn't mean I won't stop someone beating or abusing a child or a woman, but I see a different picture now. And so, as they say, What now? I just checked the time. Oh, cool. What now? Well, I trained as a builder, a scientist, a massage therapist, and more. What can I add to people's lives that will create ease and more joy for them? What can I add to my own life to create more ease and joy in my life? I guess I'm required to work on me first, and then I can be the invitation to more for others. This is what I've been working at for some time. Something I've learned on the way. I'm a healer. That doesn't mean I come along and touch and wham, I take your illness away. Nope, not even. I've watched healers die as a result of doing just that. Taking people's stuff into their own bodies in order to heal someone, husbands, wives, siblings, children, or taking pain and stuff from the one they care about to the point of illness for themselves, only to see the one they care about so deeply, to care for deeply, get worse and die anyway. I've learned to not take it on board. I've learned to recognize much of what I felt as not mine and not own it, or try to make it fit into my reality. This awareness has helped me to acknowledge what it is I perceive as belonging to others, usually the one I'm working with. I also realized that as I started developing a clinic, etc., I consciously set up my room as a space for healing, a space where people could come and not feel judged by what they felt, said, believed they've done, or even what their body may or may not look like. By consciously creating and holding that space, I have also created it as a way of being. Sure, there are many times I slip and get human and say or do things that may upset someone. And I'm still learning too, and have upset friends. This has also caused me sadness and pain, so to speak, as I work on not repeating the error. So I am a healer of myself. What if we are all healers? What if we actually heal ourselves? I know that no matter what I do for somebody, if they don't choose to actually get better, they don't. It's been shown many times that the diabetes can be reversed simply through diet. There is a DVD called Simply War, an amazing documentary on people and choices. You actually see those that choose to change and get well, and those that choose to anti-change. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's so true. I get so excited when I see people really choose to change and to be well. They really embrace the choice and do the things that will give them freedom with their bodies. So, are you a healer? Would you now like to destroy, uncreate, and forget everything you know about healing and being a healer? That's all your conclusions, interesting points of view, projections, expectations that you have around this concept of being a healer, and what a healer should or should not be. Just let them go, and now start afresh. What if healing wasn't about diving and telling the body it's broken, what's wrong with it, and how you single-handedly are the only one on the planet that can fix it? What if it actually was more a case of acknowledging the body's own knowing and awareness, acknowledging the body is dealing with something and has been trying to get the occupant's attention by creating some form of intensity or dis-ease. We call it pain in the body. Then simply providing the space for the body to be heard and acknowledged, so that you, the occupant, can start to make changes in the way it lives and allow the body to heal, sometimes instantly, as it lets go of the issue around the disease. What if simply teaching the person to actually love their body instead of beating it into submission or abusing it because they didn't see themselves as desirable or good looking from their judgmental perspective, is all that is often required to create and generate the healing. Judgment creates contraction, restriction, limitation, and stops our perceived ability to choose. We still have choice, we just don't see it in our judgment-filled, no-choice world. Fear disempowers, we give away our power. When we no longer fear, we become powerful and potent. I would now invite you to let go of all the judgments you have about you, your body, and your life. We always have such perfect vision when we look back and are somewhat blind to what's ahead of us. Why? Well, when we made choices before now, we did so from our knowledge back then. When we look back from now, we judge our choices based on what we know now. And when we look forward, we can only see what we know now. So stop judging you as stupid and wrong. Would you just humor me for as long as it takes, and just acknowledge that all your choices have brought you to this point, moment in space and time. It's simple, really. Everything you have done has created the you are today, and everything you choose from here on in will create a different you tomorrow. A little while ago, we had a conversation with a person in the class that Gabi and I were facilitating. This person had just spent 2.5 days telling the same story and then justifying the story with another story, stuck and a victim. Even her voice was pathetic, and she was busy saying how powerful she was. I got so mad at her blankness and told her I'll give her money back and send her home. And she went quiet and said, no, that's not what I want. It's not what I wanted. I told her then choose, change the story, let it go and start creating a new story or go home before she could waste any more of the class participants' time with a weak and pathetic act. I then told her I know exactly how she feels, as I have been in the same space. However, I chose to step out of that and create something different, and in choosing, got my ass out of the wheelchair, got my body functioning fully, and even got to where people understood me when I speak, mostly when I speak slowly and clearly. Something let go, as she chose to stay in the class and not go into the wrongness of her. She also realized that she can act the story with the funding authorities and can be her other self when she is free and creating for herself. At lunch, she asked for a private session with me, during which we explored where she had learned to be the victim and thus control those around her, and where it no longer works for her. She also discovered that by being this victimhood thing, she was victimizing others. Also seeing how unkind that is to others she professed to love. When she came out of the session, the participants were all amazed at how her looks had changed, softer, more joyful, and even moved freely. This lady had severe chronic pain that limited her ability to move, walk any distance, and so much more. In her last message of thanks, she told Gabi how she can walk for an hour, skip, dance, and even sings again, just from letting go the story and choosing to create something different, something about the story. The other class participants had been getting really pissed off with her, but when she came out of the session, they all saw the visual difference. All that disappeared, and they all genuinely embraced her and included her in their space and day. They actually showed real gratitude for this amazing lady, for her courage and desire to not only be vulnerable in front of them or be judged by them, but also for her strength in choosing something different and choosing it now. Another lady in another class had been complaining about ongoing pain, very long term. But when I ever asked her something or suggested something, there was always a but. Even though she vowed she wanted to change this and be well, she always came back with a but. To me, she had already decided that it was not going to change, that nothing would change it. not even in mine. So I simply said, cool, and walked away to work on with other bodies in the class. This didn't get me any special points from some of the class, and I didn't care. I decided a long time ago to help those that really want to change, really want to create something different. This study wasn't choosing it, and so I went off to be with others that were waiting their turn. I have seen too many examples of people creating something, seeming miracles in their lives by simply choosing a different way of being, a different choice, a different story. This is something I'm still working towards being more of, letting go my past injuries and stories so that I can also create miracles in my life. What if we could let go of the past, let go of the stories of our past, of our ancestors and their past, our cultural heritage, and decide to begin a new story today? Then tomorrow we decide to begin a new story again and again and again. What would we be teaching our families, our children, and even our parents? What effect would this have on the future, on our future? Most importantly, what effect would this have on our bodies? And how would this change things for you? I know that for me, this journey has made a remarkable effect on my body and more. How are we? Does anybody have any questions? I think I'll leave the rest for Sunday night. Okay, and then does anybody have any questions? How was that? Was that clear? Did I speak better, Mickey? Cool. I have to catch myself and go, not that, not that.
Oh, it was much better than yesterday.
Cool.
And I'm just deeply touched.
Thank you. I'm so surprised at the book. The first time I read it to myself, as that was a new book, I was shocked. But yeah. Cool.
Shocked? What do you mean by shocked?
Well, it's like, wow. Yeah, just that. It's like, I mean, I cried, I laughed, I cried some more, told myself I was an idiot. Yeah. All of that. You know, these things still flow within us, and we still, when we look back at our lives freshly, we get to see some things that we just blur over. And even when I was writing it, I still say I didn't write the book. You know, I'd get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the voice in my head would say, go write. And I go, no, I'm tired. Go write. And I can't go back to sleep. I get up. If I'm tired in the morning, this is the last time this happens. And I write, and okay, go to sleep. And I go back to bed, and I'd sleep so soundly. I'd wake up totally refreshed in the morning. And then I'd have to go back in the morning and read what I wrote, because it was like, whoa. And even when I first gave the copy of what I'd basically done to Gabi, and she read it, proofread it, and then I gave it to her after I'd sat with it for another week or two. And she said, this is a different book. Where's the other book? Because everything got moved and changed, but everything that was there was still there. So for me, I know it's not just me writing this book, but it's, yeah, and it's really cool. Uh-oh, Chilla's here. She's got her list of questions. Hello, Chilla. We're watching you. Does anybody else have a question before Chilla asks her list? Claudia?
Yes. The question, what else is possible? Your cousin Chewie asked you.
Yeah. Always.
You said you wanted someone to remind you.
Oh, yeah. Well, the next time I discovered that question, rediscovered it, really was with access consciousness. But since I wrote that chapter, I've left access consciousness. But yeah, it's still an important question to ask outside of all of that. You know, but that's one of the key questions. What else is possible? But I used to get so pissed with people. They go, oh, wow, what else is possible? There's no energy behind that question. But when you can ask it from that childlike space of, wow, what else is possible? The energy is there and the universe will show you.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to ask from that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you do, things change. It's like, you know, how does it get any better than that? Again, people say it without thought or meaning.
Yeah.
But when you can ask it from the space and the energy of really making that request, things get better because you get to see the possibilities. Not functioning from autopilot, not functioning from remote control, not unconscious. We're consciously asking all of these questions. Cool, thank you. Does that help?
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Chilla, I'll unmute you now. You're a noisy girl.
Am I?
You were.
Hi. Sorry. You don't know my story. It's a miracle that I'm here actually.
Cool.
So I could ask what is possible and universe answered.
So did you have a question? No.
to be honest, I hardly heard you.
Cool.
Because I had to download everything to be able to watch you on the mobile.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
I just kept pressing it in my ear, and then the battery went down. So at halfway, I lost you completely. And I ran like mad home. And I just arrived now, and you say you are watching me. And watching me? Why? I just arrived home. So
cool. That's okay. Let's save them for next week.
Okay.
We'll have time next week for some questions.
Isn't it on Sunday that you have
Sunday.
your third
Yeah.
session?
Yeah. Sunday is the first day of the week for me.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Cool. Okay. So, hey, thank you everybody for coming on again.
Oh no! Stay a little bit.
I'll send you the recording.
Just keep smiling. Pardon?
I'll post the link for the recording.
Yeah, okay. I go back to the airport then.
Okay, cool. So thank you, everybody.
Okay.
If nobody has any thoughts, then I'll stop the recording. Anything? No? Okay.
No, not
Cool. So thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Chilla. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Renata, Nance, and Mickey. And of course, thank you, Universe. See you later.
Thank